Thank you.
So welcome to our class again. We're very happy to have you here today. And we're going to go through a little document here, sharing the screen, discussing an introduction to Python. So this will be the basis for our course. Our course is called Advanced Learning Techniques, and that's just a name we kind of made up. The whole idea is to teach mathematics and computer programming simultaneously, so that the computer programming can help us to understand the mathematics better. And we can share this approach to teaching, and also we can share the work that we do in the class with others, and hopefully generate a learning community around integrated learning. And hopefully eventually meaningful learning that also is of some service to a wider community. So our discussion today is just an introduction to the Python computer programming language, and we don't have to go too far into the language to start doing a lot of mathematics. So I have a little bit of code here on the screen that I'll discuss to begin with, and then using this code, this becomes a set of building blocks we can use to solve problems. So the first point that we may highlight here is that here is a comment. It starts with 3 double quotes and ends with 3 double quotes. And in my editor, the Spider editor, it is green. So anything inside here the computer does not see. This is not computer code. This is just a note for people to see. My computer generated this comment to say that's when I created this file. And here's a little note about what the comment is. And also, here's the author of the program. That's actually automatically generated by the computer program. So I just added to the comment to this is a comment. And there's an alternative way to do comments, and that's with single quotes. And we'll see that's very useful. So now the next idea, once you know how to make comments, this is for the humans. The computer does not see anything within the comments, and so you can write almost anything in there. The computer will not see it. It's just for reference of other people. And you see, I'll make heavy use of single line comments in the rest of this little program. So speaking about single line comments, here is a single line comment. It starts with a hashtag, this number sound or pound sign, and it is such that anything that appears after this pound sign is now a comment. So I can make a whole single line comment like this, or I can make an inline comment which comes after some computer code. So line 17 here is our first line of computer code, and it's demonstrating what is called a variable, x equals 5. It sets the value of x to 5. And the very first output statement that we're using is a print statement. It's going to print the value of x with a little message. X is 5. So when we run our program, that's what we will see. So I may comment out the rest of our program and gradually uncomment it, because that will help us to see step by step what is being run in the program. So at the moment, I just commented everything else out. So there are only 2 lines in our program, 17 and 18, that are actual computer code. It's just going to print x is 5. There we go. And in the bottom corner there, it says x equals 5, or x is 5. So the very basic introduction to computer programming involves a variable, x equals 5, and an output statement, a minimum viable program almost. Many people will just say hello world at this point in a print statement. All right, we continue on. And here is the next topic, variables. We introduced a variable x equals 5. Well, in this section, we talk about 4 different types of variables that we use in the Python computer programming language. And these will get us started with a lot of possibilities to use these 4 different types of variables. The first one here, A, B, and C are all set equal to a counting number, an integer. So A is 45, B is 65, C is 1234. I could even make C negative if I like. And so those are the integer variables. They have no decimal places and they're numbers. So related to those, sometimes you need to put a decimal place. And so D, E, and F here are floating point numbers. So D is 1.4534. There's a floating point number. And so on. E and F are also floating point numbers that have decimal places. And they're distinct from integers in certain ways that we'll see as we do more computer programming. Okay, text variables. Sometimes you need to store some text. So there's a name, there's a car, there's a location, 3 examples that we may use as text variables. And they're also distinct from integer and floating point variables. And sometimes we have to be careful to keep them sorted out. Otherwise, some issues may arise. And my final set of variables is our Boolean variables here. The answer is true and finished is false, meaning we're not done yet. So outputting variables. So we're going to display the values of these variables. So displaying the values of these variables, here we have the first 6 variables there, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And then the remaining variables are set out there. I'm going to now comment out my program here, and we will print the values of those variables that were just set. And I run my program. Here we are. All the numbers are displayed one by one along a line. And then here's the data, the name, the car, the location, and true and false. So we can see with our print statements, our output statements, I can put some text in some quotes and separate by commas all the variables I would like to display on one line, and that's what happens. If I want a new line, I just make a new print statement and it starts on a new line. So there we are with a few ideas about how to set variable values in the program, store data that is, and then print out the data when we need it. So those are several of the most important things that we may do within computer programming. The third of these is input. We allow the user to input some data and store that data. And so that's the topic of this next section here. So let's uncomment this part and we'll comment down to here. And I'm just going to pause for a moment here. All right, here we are. We will take a look at some input now. So here, we're going to input a name. And here, we're going to input an age. But there's something different that we have to do about the age, and here's the height. Both of those, we have to do something different than the name. So I'm just going to run the program and input those pieces of data, but then we can discuss it. So we print here the name, we print here the age. I may as well print the height that we entered. Okay, so let's run our program. It prints out the data, but now it says, please enter your name. So I click right beside there and I can enter some name. Okay, there's a name. Now it says, please enter your age. Oh, it even tells me in 3 years what your age will be. Now it says, please enter your height in meters. So there's a height in meters. So now let's discuss that. The name, we can just directly print it out, and that's fine. The age, we can also just directly print it out, but the computer still thinks it's some text. The computer does not think it's a number yet until we typecast it. We have to tell the computer that that variable age is actually an integer. So we use the integer function around the age. The new value of the age is the text value of the age typecast as an integer. And now I can do some math with it. And we see here age plus 3. So if I were not to do that, for example, if I tried to print the age plus 3 before I typecast it into an integer, you'll see right away there's a problem. Please enter your name, and then please enter your age. Oh, there it creates a problem. So that's why we need to typecast variables in certain situations. So I put that in this order. I first typecast the age into an integer. Now I can print it. And finally here, we will take a look at the height. And it will allow us to enter a height. I had to convert the height to a float if I want to use it in a calculation. For example, I can call it side. Please enter the side length of a square. Okay, and I'll call that side. So the area now I can do some mathematics with the side, and I just multiply side by side. Side times side. May as well finish off my sentence with a full stop. There we go. And we will run the program one more time. Please enter your name. Please enter your age. Please enter the side length of a square. So I can actually enter the side length of a square, even without decimal places, 12.65. And the area is that 12.65 times 12.65. It did my calculation for me. So we are starting to get a little inkling of the power of Python to do some